whole thing about Toronto bias or Canada bias and none of the Sun Belt teams can get a look in the national media. I didn't know that you knew half those words. But do you know what I mean? Yes. How many times did Nikita Kucherov's points get talked about tonight? More times than he has points. Let's go! Good. We all feel good. Stop! Never gets rusty! What am I doing? Into my kitchen! Producer Drew, can you fix all this? And when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs, you can crumple, yeet! Saw that going differently. With you wherever you are, welcome to LFR. Leafs lose 4-1 to, I almost said Florida. No, that was last year's playoffs. After beating Tampa, Leafs lose 4-1 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Boo and hiss and fart. I'm not all that bothered by it, though. No, don't turn the video off. I'll still yell. Let's talk about it. So, there were probably a few moments during the game where you looked at the Leafs and you looked at what they were doing and you said, what the heck are they doing? Hey, I did too. But I think if you paid close attention to the Leafs versus Panthers game from just the other night and the comments made afterward and the commentary that came out afterward, you weren't as worried about this game. Listen, the points still matter. The Leafs can definitely still catch the Florida Panthers. That matters for home ice. The Tampa Bay Lightning just pulled it within 4 points of the Leafs. That could become a big deal. Dude, I'm at the point now where, like, home ice advantage or on the road, whatever. They had home ice advantage, Montreal Canadiens, you know the story. But right now, like, with the Panthers beating the Bruins and the Lightning beating the Panthers when the Lightning won the President's Trophy and knocked them off in the second round, and the Lightning getting knocked off in the first round as the President's Trophy winners in 2019, like, so many unbelievable regular season teams have had all the advantages afforded to them and fell anyway. I just look at it as a Leafs fan like the playoffs are friggin' hard, dude. They're hard. No matter where you play, no matter who you face, it's whatever. Just make sure everyone's as healthy as possible and you're playing as well as possible. And you can adapt to situations as well as possible, which is what the last 2 games have been about. Here's the thing. There's a bunch of guys out right now. Liljegren, Edmonton, Marner most notably, Yarncroke, and ideally all those guys come back in time for the playoffs. That means there's 4 guys from tonight's lineup who may not play in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Some of those guys are guys that Sheldon Keefe has put into really difficult situations over the past couple games. Some of them have thrived, some of them have failed. Some of them have done a little bit of both. Let's talk about it. Number 1, the first Lightning goal. I seem to be the only person talking about this, so maybe I'm wrong? I'm open to being wrong as long as I learn. As of yet, no one's reached out. Like, I've asked several people. So the start of the game, the Leafs are out shooting the Lightning 3-0. I actually really like the Leafs start to the game. But, and this is the narrative, for the 3rd time this season, Joseph Woll has allowed the first shot he's faced in a game, and it's not good. He didn't have a good game. A lot of this game comes down to the Lightning's goalie was better than the Leafs goalie. And like, we already know Sammy is going to be the Game 1 starter, assuming he's healthy, but I'd like Woll to be playing well. Here's the thing, or at very least the thing that I'm digging in on. That goal shouldn't have counted. I didn't see anyone talk about it. I didn't see it on the intermission. I didn't see nothing. Which doesn't mean the NHL is stupid and all the refs are stupid and they're crazy. It just means I might have missed something. So I'm going to show you what I saw. So the Lightning scored that goal with an extra attacker. And the reason they had an extra attacker is TJ Brodie slid on his belly to break up a 2-on-1, which he will often do. And he tripped a guy. That's a penalty. You can't do that. Here he is tripping the guy. And oh, there's Jake McCabe in the slot with the puck. So here's what happens, and it happens in very rapid succession. It happens in the blink of an eye. TJ Brodie trips a guy, Jake McCabe touches the puck that is coming towards him to settle it, and then McCabe swats it to the half boards to get it out of danger. In other words, Jake McCabe handled the puck. He touched the puck 2 different times. He was the last person to touch the puck when he cleared the puck. Here comes the puck, settle the puck, clear the puck. Is that not possession? Right, okay, well, his team just took a penalty. That means the play's dead, except it wasn't. The play continued. The Lightning, who had the extra attacker with tired guys on the ice, worked it around, and they scored. No, what you can't see in any of the screen caps I'm showing you is a ref with their arm up. That's because the ref who made the call was outside of the blue line, so we don't know when they called the penalty. But unless I missed something, we all know what they called the penalty on. It was the trip because it was a trip. I watched to see if there was another penalty. Did this guy hook that guy? Did Holmberg do something? I didn't see anything. So the ref maybe put their arm up and called the penalty after McCabe played the puck because the two things happened so quickly, the trip and McCabe playing the puck. Except the penalty is for a thing that happened before McCabe played the puck. The play should be dead. And if that's not how the rule works, fine, let me know. But also, why is that not how the rule works? So again, that was just something I saw. I'm not being irrational about this. It was something I saw. I didn't understand it. I put it out there. I didn't hear from anyone else. I'm the only one that seems to be making a fuss about it. I must have missed something. But if Brody's the one who took a penalty for tripping a guy and Jake McCabe settled the puck and then cleared the puck, what? If touching the puck twice in succession and doing what you want with it is not possessing the puck, I don't know what is. Anyway, it's 1-0. Stop the first shot of the game. That'd be nice. Hey, you know what is nice? Having Austin Matthews on your team. They're putting up the banner. The Lightning have an unreal penalty kill. The Leafs power play is poo. Face off, pass, blam. Austin Matthews, you mutant. 63 on the season. Now the race is really on, man. Really on. There's 7 games left. 7 games, and he needs 7 goals to get to 70. Here are the remaining games. Montreal in Montreal. Pittsburgh at home. The next night against New Jersey. The Devils again. Detroit. Florida, Tampa on the road, back-to-back leading into the playoffs. That kind of sucks. Dude, the final 7 games of the season feature some teams who have had a very difficult time keeping the puck out of their net this season. Also some teams that are playing extremely important games for their organization. But depending on what happens over the next few days, maybe the Penguins officially get eliminated from the playoffs, the wind is out of their sails a little bit, maybe the same thing happens to the Devils, maybe the same thing happens to the Red Wings. I'm getting ahead of myself because, dude, it's all that there is left to watch is where do they finish in the standings, and no matter where they finish, they're going to play against an incredible team. 2, I want to make sure they're playing well. And 3, 70. I want him to hit 70. I don't want him to hit 70 at the expense of his health or the team playing well, but I want him to hit 70. The team wants him to hit 70. Look at Matthews play. He wants to hit 70. His line, I thought, looked great tonight. Let's get him to 70, dude. That'd be amazing. It would give him the juice. The juice heading into the playoffs. Let's go. And that is, unfortunately, where the Leafs' night of good ends. Well, that's not true. Ryan Reeves beat the brakes off a guy. But Sheldon Keefe, in the game against the Florida Panthers, the Leafs have a 5-1 lead. Florida makes it 5-2. And then he says, you know what? I got this little kid line, right? I got Matthew Nyes with Pontus Holmberg and Nick Robertson. And they just scored a goal to make it 5-1. And I bet they're feeling pretty good about themselves. Now, I know they can score goals. I know they can generate offense, and I'm not really worried about that. Let's see how they do in a defensive situation, because if we're the road team in the playoffs, if I'm playing against a pretty good coach, John Cooper, Paul Maurice, I want to see if they can handle a bad situation. What happened? They couldn't handle the bad situation. Now, you might look at that as, well, that's not good. And no, I mean, it's not good getting scored on. Here's the devil's advocate there. You're a coach putting your players out there in a difficult situation late in the season. Either they survive it and feel pretty good about themselves, or they don't survive it and they get scored on, and that stays with them heading into the playoffs. You're going to pay attention to details. You're not going to make that mistake again if you make it right before the playoffs, if you want to stick in the lineup. If you make that mistake at the end of the regular season, you might stick in the lineup. If you make that mistake in the playoffs, you're gone. Well, that's what happened here. Sheldon Keefe, home ice advantage and all, starts his 4th line, David Kampf, Ryan Reeves, Connor Dewar, out there against Tampa Bay's top guys. There is no reason to do this other than to see whether or not they sink or swim. Well, here's Braden Point in front of the net for a solid 3 Mississippi, so I would say they sank a little bit more than they swam. I don't know if that's Reeves' guy, if he's supposed to pick him up. All I know is David Kampf had Braden Point, and then he just sort of went blue car, squirrel, and just left. That's your shutdown center. I mean, let's be honest, the shutdown center is Austin Matthews and has been for a while. That's your 4th line defensively minded center. And Ryan Reeves, and like you, if he's what's making your whole defensive house of cards crumble, then you might have bigger issues. So the Leafs go down 2-1. Ryan Reeves says, don't worry, I'll show you why I'm in the lineup a little bit later in the game. Now, the 3rd Lightning goal isn't born from the coach just putting his players in a difficult position. It's from It coaches players, putting the team in a difficult position. Jake McCabe's a good defenseman. I like Jake McCabe a whole lot. I like that he hits people. I like that he looks really good on the right side. Not a lot of lefties can do that, and we've seen that. Here he is, crunching hit. Yeah, I think that's Brandon Hagel. Even better, that guy yaps a whole big bunch. And oh no, that's a 2-on-1. And there they go. Is he going to pass? Of course he's not. It's Steven Stamkos. He's going to score, and he scores. And yeah, well, listen, at least 3 of the 4 goals that the Lightning scored, you go, it'd be nice to get a save there. And it would be nice to get a save there. But also that's a 2-on-1 that you're giving up because you stepped up into a hit that you shouldn't have. I love Jake McCabe. I love his hits. I love his game. This is a huge weakness in his game. The bad pinches. And there have been too many times in recent memory where he's got caught. There's a time, there's a place, and that wasn't the time and wasn't the place. Lightning make it 3-1. The 4th and final Lightning goal. Oh boy, I feel bad for this guy. Connor Timmons, you see him play, you see him generate offense, you see him on the first power play, you see the amount of points he puts up, and you go, why isn't this guy in the NHL? No one suckers me in to why isn't this guy in the NHL more than Connor Timmons, because he gives you those flashes. And then he gives you this, and you're like, oh, like that's what's making you 7 instead of 6. That's what's making you 8 instead of 7. Like Mark Giordano was taken out of the lineup and you stayed in it, and I'm just not sure that's going to happen again, or wouldn't happen again if you didn't shoot right. He has a little collision with Mikey Eysmont, and the puck is going the other way, and he knows he's going to have to get into a race with a guy who's probably faster than him. But instead of just going, he chicken wings Eyesmont's stick. That's not Eysmont hooking him. Let's be honest, that's him chicken winging. I have a newborn. Listen, we all make mistakes, not just them. I know I'm not good at anything. No, but seriously, then the puck goes the other way. It's a 2-on-1, and again it goes in, and again you'd like a save, and again it's not great. I don't think it's that bad heading into the final stretch of the season to have a game where you generally play well. I thought they played well in this game, and Andrei Vasilevsky stoned them, and the defense of Tampa did a very good job. It's okay to have this video session over the next couple days off that you have ahead of a Saturday night game against Montreal in Montreal. Now, I asked for questions on Twitter. I'm going to answer those questions. This wasn't a question. It was just a tweet I saw, and I think it's important. From Frizzbob, they did an entire segment with a former coach on how point shots through traffic completely stunned Vasilevsky. Why are they not taking more shots through traffic? So maybe I'm overthinking it here. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs want to see if they could score in other ways. They know that they can bang and crash in front of the Tampa net and score on Andrei Vasilevsky. They know that they can do that. They've done it in 2 straight playoffs. Even the series where the Lightning won, Vasilevsky wasn't awesome. Then Game 7 came around and he allowed 1 damn goal. Well, he allowed 2, but, Wes. I think they were just trying to do other things. I also think Tampa played a really good game. They really clogged up the neutral zone. A player who they neutralized in particular, I thought the Bertuzzi Domi Matthews line did their best. Tampa did a good job breaking up a lot of their slot passes and stuff. They really shut down William Nylander. I know he had a lot of shots. I don't know how many of them were that dangerous. Bobby McMahon got a point-blank chance. He got stoned by a guy who, in very recent memory, was the best goalie in the world. And he's coming off of back surgery, and he hasn't been that great, but he's getting better, and so is the team. And why aren't we talking about this monkey wrench being thrown into the East more? You think Boston's like, oh sweet, we get to play Tampa? Probably not. This one was interesting, and I know we're all in a crabby mood. Why can't a Toronto sports team ever become a juggernaut? Why are we always just in the playoffs and not competing for the best records and #1 seeds? So here's the thing. I'm about to show you how good the Leafs have been in recent years, and it's going to make the fact that they haven't won a division more frustrating, except they have won a division. They did. They ran over the Canadian division. They ran it over. They won the thing. What happened? Exactly. I think you got your eyes on the wrong prize. But let me go through this. These are the cumulative points in the standings. Man, that's a hard word. Since the 16-17 season. That is since the Matthews and Marner era began. The #1 team in the NHL with 832 points is the Boston Bruins. The Tampa Bay Lightning have 799. I don't know if that's updated since after the game. And the Leafs are 3rd in the entire league, 779, with a decent lead over Carolina and Washington. Now what you're going to notice, the Leafs are 3rd in the NHL over well over half a decade, nearly a decade, third in their own division. It sounds like a cop-out answer, but why can't the answer be they play in a division of juggernauts? Dude, Boston won 65 games last year. Tampa won a President's Trophy, blew it, and then went to 3 straight cup finals, winning 2 of them. Outside of the 1920 season, this isn't a team just making the playoffs. And I'm looking at their season since Tampa won the President's Trophy and then got swept in the first round by Columbus. They finished 4th in the NHL. The next year they finished 9th. The Leafs finished 6th. The next year they finished 7th. The Leafs finished 4th. And then I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what that last screenshot was. I forgot. Newborn. Eyes on the prize. Eyes on the prize. They're trying to build a playoff team. I like the way they're playing. Playoffs are coming, and we're not gonna know how they do in the playoffs until they begin. Maybe they stink. Maybe they totally stink, and then we have to reevaluate everything. But maybe they're pretty good. You have to leave it open to the idea that maybe they're pretty good, otherwise there's no point watching. Listen, outside of hockey right now, the Toronto sports landscape is bleak. The Jays are the Jays. They finally get a feel-good win, and then they take the dude who made them feel good out of the lineup. Why? The Raptors have lost 15 straight, and they're losing every game by 40, 50 points. And as producer Drew points out, the Buffalo Bills just traded one of their star players. If it weren't for PWHL Toronto and the Leafs, there would not be much to cheer for right now. Do you think finishing 3rd and opening the playoffs on the road is better for this team? I don't think there's a better. I don't think there's a worse. The Leafs went 1-5 at home last playoffs. Do you know why that is? Well, I have a theory. What if there's no reason? What if there's no reason? What if it just happened to be that way? You know, oh, they play better on the road. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. They've done better on the road this season. Maybe it just happened to be that way. Maybe there's so many friggin' games and it just happened that way. Dude, it's better to sleep in your own bed. It's better to have last change. It's better to play at home. But time and time again, they play better on the road. So I think it's 6 1/2. It's the playoffs. They're hard. Tell me why I'm not overreacting to this loss at all. I don't know. I watched part of it, saw the Nick Paul goal, and just went, whatever, and left to go move some furniture. I cared way more about the Panthers game, if I'm being honest. So that's interesting, because you're not that mad about the Lightning game, but I can guarantee you and I and a lot of people watching this video right now would have been way more mad if the Leafs lost to the Panthers. Why? Because the Panthers always get the Leafs' goat. They always get the better of them. The Leafs have gotten the better of the Tampa Bay Lightning pretty consistently for about a year. And it's not like it was a very hate-filled game outside of Ryan Reeves just, ooh. Dude, props to Tanner Jeannot for taking that fight with a 3-1, 4-1 lead for some reason. And also, he got knocked down right away. He got right back up and then got knocked down again. Dude, Florida's the team who got rid of you last year. They got rid of you. That's why. You don't like them. You don't have to like them. I don't think you like the Lightning very much either. And there is unlikely, it's unlikely, but the Leafs and Lightning could play again in the first round this year. It's unlikely. Florida would have to lose like all their games. But you saw the Leafs get the better of the Lightning last year. That makes you feel good. You saw the Leafs lose to the Panthers last year. That made you feel bad, so you're happy when they beat them. It's very simple. Humans, I think, are complicated and simple at the same time. Lastly, should the Leafs try and have their playoff home games played in Buffalo instead of Toronto? You know, that's a funny joke. After last game, it's funny that you make that because the Leafs beat the Sabres in a building full of Leafs fans, kind of forgetting that building has been a nightmare for the Leafs for a very long time. But it wasn't last time, and that's what counts. So, let me know in the comment box down below. Were you a little bit more worked up than me? It's a rarity. For now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you liked this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell your friends, hey, great week to check out SDPN. We had a brand new Steve Dangle podcast Tuesday, brand new Steve Dangle podcast Wednesday. We're going to have an SDP VIP this week. We're going to have another Steve Dangle podcast on Friday. And I don't know if I've ever told you about the Basu and Godin notebook. I know some Habs fans watch every video here for some reason. If you want a podcast about the Habs, that's what we got on SDPN.